Welcome to the Jaron Jarvis channel. I am Jaron Jarvis. Today, I would like to introduce to you, I like it better when you watch. The hardest part about this is getting comfortable. I've followed her for days now, getting to know her routine. Blending into the background at her work, the gym, and in traffic is nothing compared to the time I have to spend in the trees. I've done this so often that the rush is gone, it's just my routine. The last few haven't even been women. I followed an old guy off of the train a couple weeks ago, and the boy across town couldn't have been more than 16. I know you don't approve, and I guess deep down even I'm ashamed. I've really never been close to anyone. I've never been able to put up the front that seems to come naturally to everyone. I normally don't consider myself a sexual person, but I do get great pleasure from watching people while they think they're alone. They take down their walls and are free from social constrictions. They move differently, they talk to themselves, and you'd be surprised how many of them can't wait to shed the clothes that society forces them to wear. This is why I'm up in this godforsaken tree. I can't remember the last time my hands didn't have splinters in them. The sap stains on my clothes make me even more of a social outcast. Don't even get me started on the bugs. I start to wonder if this is even worth it. When she finally makes it up the stairs, I flick the spider off the branch near my shoulder and unzip. She's somehow become braless between going inside and her trip to her bedroom, where I'm awkwardly positioned outside. I curse God for not giving me 3 hands. But I've been doing this long enough to get creative. Her shirt comes off and she stands in front of her mirror. Her back is to me as she slides off her pants, seemingly for my viewing pleasure. I reach down, making a few slow and deliberate strokes. The way her mirror is positioned gives me both angles at once. I marvel at her interior decorator's capacity for creeper feng shui. She smiles, she pouts, and she duck faces. All the faces she makes in her Facebook pictures at the clubs have been carefully fabricated. Every girl I've watched performs the exact same routine. I wonder if girls in other cultures have different rituals. I make a mental note to travel overseas and find out one day. My eyes move from the curvature of her lower back to the delicate spot just above her right collarbone. I think I see a cute little mole. I make smaller strokes as my eyes gather every detail. Her slender frame is a perfect backdrop for her bountiful curves. Even an outlier like me can appreciate the work she's put in at the gym, which is exactly where I picked her out. It's only been a few minutes, but I'm almost done. She puts her hands over her breasts and lifts them up to an unnaturally high position on her chest, another baffling display so coveted by the ones I've watched before. Despite her lack of originality, I'm able to finish. The light from her room barely reaches the 10 feet out to where I sit. It's just enough to light up her page in my sketchpad. I wouldn't be surprised if some of you more unsavory types thought I was touching myself while I was up here, but I'm not like you. I live for my art. My drawings are nothing spectacular, they are merely a rough sketch for the work I'll be doing tomorrow. I design mannequins for high-end retail stores, and I make a pretty good living doing it. My attention to detail, realism, and naturalism, make me a highly sought-after person in the industry. I'm aware that my methods are illegal, immoral, and creepy to the average person. But did you know that all CPR training dummies are based on the death mask of a famous unidentified drowning victim from the 1800s? I replace my pencil and pad within my bag and zip it back up. A sudden movement catches my eye from within her room. She's alert and suspicious. I must have zipped up my bag too loudly. I've been doing this for almost 7 years and I've never been caught. My mind is racing, and I don't think my reasoning for being up in the tree is going to get me off the hook. She screams, eyes fixated beyond her bedroom door. I can't see into her hallway from where I sit, but before I have the chance to adjust my position, a man dressed in dark clothes dashes into her room, and clamps his hand over her mouth. She struggles against her attacker, while I do nothing. Again, I find myself ashamed. While I'm not a strong man, The phone in my pocket can probably get someone here in enough time to save her, or at least capture this guy. He easily overpowers her and pulls a knife from a sheath on his belt so smoothly that I'm convinced he's done this before. It takes one stroke to slice a deep gash from one end of her neck to the other. He removes his hand from her mouth and she moves to scream. Blood bubbles from the wound on her neck, and the panic in her face sets in. I scarcely open my bag in time to vomit inside. Years of creeping around has given me great reflexes in terms of leaving no trace at my models' houses. I drop from the tree, adrenaline saving me from feeling any immediate pain. I sprint 10 blocks straight before I realize I sprained my ankle. I consider calling the police, but rationalize against it, knowing she must be dead by now. I need to remove myself completely from this situation. No good can come from talking to the police when I'm up to no good myself. When I finally make it home, I dispose of my bag in the fireplace after carefully locking the door behind me. I sit down to the computer and log on to the local news website, frantically refreshing the page, hoping for some information on the killing. I throw up each time I recall that horrific red frothing from her neck. The horrible smell coming from the fireplace didn't help much. I finally pass out in my computer chair at 8 a.m., my stomach devoid of all its contents and my ankle throbbing in pain. I wake up with a start, and try to figure out what was real and what was a dream. Cautiously I refresh the web browser, and here's what it reads. Yet another grisly murder in Eugene. Police have found another body in the Eugene city limits. The brutal nature of these crimes appears to be related. It is speculated that this is the work of a serial killer. Authorities caution that the killings appear to be indiscriminate, as the victims appear to share no similar characteristics. The EPD and FBI warn everyone to keep their doors and windows locked, and to remain in groups when possible. The departments are aggressively searching for a suspect, and ask for your help with any possible leads in the case, no matter how trivial they may seem. The latest victim was a 25-year-old woman who lived alone. Her name is being withheld until family members can be notified. The previous, known, victims are as follows. Jacob Kessler, 71. Tony Prattman, 15. David Patel, 45. Suzanne Campbell, 41. This page will be updated regularly as new information is received. I know I've been hard at work lately and I seldom follow the news, but I'm shocked that I haven't heard tale of an active serial killer in my hometown. I'm conflicted between calling the police with the little information that I know, and just staying as far from the matter as possible. I didn't even get a good look at who did this. My information wouldn't help the case in any way. I mindlessly click through the related pages, while I argue back and forth with myself about the right thing to do. The more I click through the pages, the more familiar it all seems. Suddenly something clicks. I know these people. 71 inches 15 Patel. The last guy I turned into a mannequin was an older gentleman, and the one before that was a teenaged boy. An Indian fella caught my eye at a farmer's market a few months ago, and he easily could have been 45. My heart pounds through my chest as I open the pictures linked at the bottom of the page. I had sketched all of these people on the nights they died. Is it possible someone is watching me? You'd think with all the stalking around I do, I'd pick up on the signs of being followed. There is no way this is a coincidence. I wonder if I'm in danger. I spend the next few hours pacing around my apartment trying to think of anything out of the ordinary within the last few months. Suddenly my artistic exploits don't seem so harmless. What I'm doing is not normal behavior. How much do the serial killer and I have in common? How did he find me? My thoughts wander back to something in the article. These are the only 4 victims that they know about. I rush out the door and hop on the bus to a familiar area. I spent a couple days here in January, breathing in the habits of a 19-year-old waitress that served me earlier in the day. I anxiously circle the block, working up courage to knock on the door. I had no problem climbing on the garage and peering in her bedroom window, but the front door is such a foreign option to me. While building up my courage, I notice the strange emptiness of the streets. It's early afternoon but there is a near absence of activity in this seemingly friendly neighborhood. Until I read that article, I had no reason to notice the gradual decline in activity in Eugene. For some reason I feel responsible and it gives me the strength to approach the house. My knocks are answered by a stern man from behind a security chain. He eyes me suspiciously before asking what I want. I know this to be the girl's father, as I had waited for him to start his late shift before sketching his daughter months ago. "Is Sarah home?" I inquire with a strange heaviness weighing on my shoulders. Luckily I had remembered the name stitched onto her work uniform. "She's gone," he yells. "Any friend of hers would know that. I need you to tell me who the hell you are, and why is it you're asking for her? I sure as hell don't recognize you." Gone? I think to myself, that doesn't tell me what I came here for. I realize my social skills aren't cut out for these types of interactions. I buckle under the pressure. I was just worried about her, with all that's been going on lately. Like I said, I don't recognize you, boy. He disappears out of the doorway momentarily as he reaches for something. I hear a gun cock, and before I know it, it cinches from my face. People have always found me somewhat off-putting, and I can't really blame him for reacting in this manner, especially under the circumstances. My eyes start to the trigger, and I'm relieved to see his trigger finger resting on the barrel of the gun, and not on the trigger. People who have been around guns refer to this as trigger discipline, and I'm relieved he's not quite ready to shoot me. My nerves get the better of me and I don't know how to respond. He undoes the door chain and reaches a hand onto my collar, with the gun never straying from my face. His left hand is missing a few fingers, which I attribute to the machine shop decal on the side of his work truck. "Look here, creep. My daughter is out of town until that maniac is caught. I want to be relieved Sarah is alive, but putting together this mystery is unsettling at every turn." I blurt out, "Tell her Fredgie says hello." I jump off the porch, cautiously looking over my shoulder as he slams the door and relatches the door chain. "Fredgie?" I think to myself. I really should not be allowed out in public. I decide to walk home as I digest this new information. If Sarah is still alive, then the killer has only been following me for 6 months or so. I decide I've played Sherlock for long enough today, and hurriedly rush home, noticing the rapidly approaching darkness. I make it home just as night falls and grab the usual packages by my front door. I had ordered some sculptor's foam a few days prior and was relieved that it finally got here. I set the packages on the kitchen table and toss a hot pocket in the microwave. The timer starts its nightly 3-minute countdown and I collapse onto the couch for 3 minutes of rest and relaxation. My eyes wander towards the packages on the table when I realize one of them is gift-wrapped with no packing labels. I can't bring myself to move. I stare at the ominous package, wondering how I'm ever gonna get the nerve to open it. The microwave bell dings and pulls me out of my trance. I wearily wander over to the box, expecting the worst, and boy did I find it. Although the hand appeared to be hacked off crudely, there wasn't a lot of blood. What little blood remained was still wet. The missing fingers had healed over years prior, and I knew immediately who it belonged to. There was paper nestled dangerously close to the severed appendage, and I took great care in removing it. On it was scrawled one simple sentence: "I like it better when you watch." If anyone is interested in the rest, I'll post the conclusion tomorrow. Part 2.